Hello and welcome to In Conversation With, the monthly podcast series brought to you by the team that produced the Global Cosmetics newsfeed. This year, our theme is Innovating Cosmetics, and this month's focus is on hair care. I'm your host, Siobhan Murphy. At the end of 2024, Allure predicted the top hair care trends of 2025 would revolve around innovating everyday essentials. This aligns with Mintel's forecast that in 2025, consumers will shift towards working smarter, not harder, when it comes to their beauty routines. But how exactly do we innovate everyday essentials in hair care? To help me unpack this and more, I'm thrilled to introduce you to this month's panel of experts. Hello and welcome back to Mallory Huron, Director of Beauty and Wellness at Fashion Snoops, Kameese Davis, CEO of Nylah Cosmetics, Emma Heathcote-James, founder of the Little Soap Company, and Jennifer O'Hara, Technical Marketing Manager at Inolex. Welcome, everybody. Mallory, let's start with you. At Fashion Snoops, what are the key consumer shifts in hair care has your team been tracking, and where do they see the opportunities for innovation?
Certainly, while I agree with the forecast that consumers are going to be looking to work smarter and not harder with their hair care routines, of course, as we all know, the longer your hair is, or if you have curly or waved or textured hair, those hair care routines can become quite involved. However, all that said, I think consumers are really finding the joy in the ritual of hair care. And we see this especially with Gen Z women on TikTok. There is such a vibrant community on TikTok of hair care experts and consumers sharing their own tips and tricks that we're seeing this kind of revival of these very extensive hair care routines. We saw last year and for the past few years, the scalp care trend, the hair care and length retention trend. Right now, there's a lot of chatter on TikTok about how you can't just take care of the scalp. You have to concern yourself with length retention too, if that's something you want. And so we're seeing the rise of all these bond building formulations in hair to keep the hair strong. And so I think it's clear that consumers have a desire to really invest a lot of time and effort in their hair care. Now, that said, I think certainly there's a huge opportunity for formulations that, as you say, work smarter and prevent consumers from having to work harder. Multifunctional formulations, for example, that can be used on the scalp and on mid-lengths and ends of hair, formulations that work for all different hair types. But I think we're also seeing a lot of personalized routines as well. We've seen a lot of this within wavy, curly, and textured hair on TikTok, and the idea of hyper personalizing your routine to be exactly what you need. But we're also seeing the rise of consumers talking about issues like dandruff and hair loss, which previously were taboo or thought to be embarrassing to talk about. There's huge community on TikTok for consumers who suffer from scalp psoriasis and sharing what works for them. And so a lot of these uncomfy or previously taboo issues are also finding a home on social media spaces, which is helpful for consumers to find those products that work best for them and to find a routine that makes them feel good about their hair.
And Jennifer, at Inolex, how have these consumer shifts guided your team in developing innovative hair care formulations?
So what we've seen is the need for either the hyper personalization or for the working smarter, right? We see people are owning the natural state of their hair. And so as people are moving towards scalp treatments or things to help with the length of the hair or formulas for different hair types, we're starting to develop and advance more, like providing silicone-free alternatives and anti-frizz and heat protection products. So we're finding more advancement and multifunctionality in the current products. And we're figuring out how to incorporate that with better for you, better for the earth ingredients.
And Kameese, as a CEO of Nylah Naturals, how have these consumer trends influenced your approach to innovation?
Our approach to innovation at Nyla's has always been centered around ensuring that primarily Black women, because we serve the textured hair care market and our core demographic is women who identify as Black, and that they have access to the advancements in ingredient technology that they weren't typically able to access because the wider cosmetic brands wasn't taking into consideration the unique needs of Afro-textured hair. So some of the things that we're looking at as a brand is around hair restoration and hair growth, primarily because 50% of Black women will experience hair loss before the age of 40. So that's a significant amount of us that have hair growth challenges for various reasons. We're also looking at length retention. The characteristics of Afro-textured hair is such that it's more prone to dehydration and breakage. So we're looking at how we can maximize the length of hair. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's about following trends. It's more about identifying what are the core needs of the community that we're serving and ensuring that we're looking at the advancement in new ingredients to ensure that we can incorporate those in product development. Another thing that is really important for our community group at the moment is looking at skinification and scalp care. Again, because of our hair care practices and the mechanical ways in which we style and treat our hair, scalp care hasn't often been something that's been high on the list of priorities for our consumers. So it's re-educating them about the importance of scalp care. And again, looking at exfoliation products, looking at products that are going to help to reduce inflammation in the scalp, which is one of the main causes of hair loss. So those are some of the things that we're doing in terms of advancements for our core audience.
And Emma, at the Little Soap Company, how has the evolving consumer preferences shaped your brand's hair care innovation?
Absolutely massively. So we started the business back in 2008, so 16 years ago now. And it was just literally bar soap that we put onto the supermarket shelf. I couldn't believe back in 2008 there was only synthetic bars on the market. I didn't understand why you couldn't go into a supermarket and put an organic or even a naturally derived bar back then into your shopping basket. So that was how we started as a business. And we brought out an organic range, we brought out a naturals range. So 2019, I created a range called Eco Warrior. And the idea was that every single bar replaced a plastic bottle, tub, tube, or pot. And I formulated bars of what traditionally was a liquid formulation. So things started to get really exciting because it took it just beyond your regular bar of soap that you used all over your body. I formulated for face, I formulated for shave, for body, and obviously for hair. Back then, shampoo bars weren't really that well known in the UK. We were again the first on the supermarket shelf, and it just started off with one shampoo bar, and everything went really well. We were asked to create more, actually by the customer. So after that, we created a dry, afro, and curly girl bar. Then obviously the sensitive scalp trend came on, and that was amid the COVID lockdown. So we created a sensitive scalp bar, which equally did really well. Then we created a men's range, so did a men's bar. We've got a child and baby range and created a baby shampoo. So it was, what's the word, tested so we can use it for newborns and up, which was absolutely brilliant. It's totally made us have a curveball, kind of. It wasn't anything that was in the original business plan. But yeah, the shampoo bar is absolutely our flagship bar out of all 4 ranges that we do, which I think is really interesting.
Super interesting. But Mallory, what technical trends has Fashion Snoops been tracking, and how are these shaping the future of hair care innovation?
Of course, fresh off of CES wrapping earlier this month in Las Vegas, we always love that show for beauty tech innovation, but we've seen some really interesting hair tech over the past few years. I think, especially with the constant race between the Dyson and the dupe Shark system, we're seeing consumers really embrace the possibility of really elevated hair tech to help streamline their routines. And so I think we look at the Dysons of the world and we look at the state of technology in hair care. And I think the main question I'm asking is what's next? It's time to move in terms of innovation beyond where we've been for the past 10 years of looking to AI to prescribe these personalized hair and shampoo routines. Those are still going strong, but I'm wondering what are the new and exciting ways that we can utilize AI in future to do more than just prescribe a personalized routine. Can it be used to analyze curl pattern, for example, and tell you what parts of your head are more curly, what parts of your head are more, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Hyper-personalization is still going to be something that we look to AI for, but within beauty tech and beauty devices itself, I'm really seeing a lot of desire for, of course, non-damaging hair tech. We've seen a lot of amazing updates this year as well in terms of heat tools that actually make your hair stronger. We've also seen a lot of beauty tech that is working to help diagnose hair loss, diagnose scalp issues, and take care of scalp issues at the cellular level. So, super interesting. And also, I'm really interested in seeing where we can utilize beauty tech for sustainability. I think it was a few years ago at CES, possibly L'Oreal, I forget, but there was an amazing innovation for salons that helped reduce water waste. It was a device that essentially hooked to a salon sinks that would help to reduce water waste, which is a huge form of environmental sustainability for the salon industry. So I think we also need to look beyond just hair dryers that don't damage our hair and scalp devices that are going to look at the root of our hair and search for any issues within our growth pattern, and look also to see where we can utilize tech to make this into a more sustainable industry.
And Jennifer at Inolex, what technical advancements are influencing your product formulations in hair care?
So we are still seeing the scalp care treatments and bond builders being launched, but we want to continue to advance the technology with gentler rinse off and leave on formulas that are going to be easy on the scalp, easy on the earth, and easy on the oceans. I also love Mallory's note about hair damage, right? And how that's growing. So we're hearing the need for advancement in anti-frizz and heat protection. So we're exploring sustainable, gentle solutions there. We think there's a need for solutions for brands and consumers that help people with the multitasking, protect the hair, and also help protect the environment, but are convenient to use.
Cosme Naturals, Kameese. What technical trends are helping Nylah Naturals innovate?
So some of the technical trends that I'm keeping an eye on in terms of our new product development are linked to understanding hormonal hair care innovation and the impact that menopause, pregnancy, and things like PCOS has on hair. Um, Things that are coming up now include hair patches and scalp balancing, hormonal scalp balancing treatments. Again, with our core demographic, and looking at menopausal women and looking at the prevalence of hair loss, it's really important that we keep up to date with those trends and we can incorporate those things into our product offering. So these are some of the things that I'm really keen on. There's also some really early research around gene editing technology, and that's quite exciting, especially considering things like VCCA, which primarily affects Black women. And that's now being linked to the PAD13 gene and a mutation in that gene. It's really interesting to keep an eye on what new advancements in the hair restoration field will help us to help our customers overcome some of those challenges.
Emma, what technical innovations are aiding the Little Soap Company in advancing its hair care offerings?
So moving into the shampoo arena has been quite a ride the last few years. We thought originally we'd just be making this one bar and that'd be it. However, considering bathrooms generate 63.7% of the home's annual plastic waste, we know that the majority of people don't actually put their bathroom bin into recycling. So what's the point of us doing all of these kind of PCR bottles when it's going straight into landfill? So that was where we thought we could make a small change. There's that wonderful quote, isn't there, that there's only one plastic straw, said 8 billion people. And that's always very much the forefront of our minds when we create new products. So if we could create different shampoos, that would create less bathroom waste. We went from the nourishing bar into the others. We then started looking at toners. There's so many people with highlighted hair. Purple shampoo was a massive trend. We know it works. We also know the consumer, I'm talking about the supermarket consumer, so it's slightly different. The consumer has this belief that purple shampoo makes a mess of their beautiful white showers. So we needed to get past that. So bringing out the purple bar was brilliant. I myself am brunette and felt very left out. And I was always a shepherd in the school play. I was never an angel. and thought, you know what, let's bring out something that's a little bit more niche, but we've got something for everybody. So we then created a blue toner and a bit in bar formulation, which that took a bit more doing than the purple bar, interestingly, because that was going all over our hands. So to get the ratios right, that it wasn't dyeing your skin, but it was working on hair, that was really interesting too. We also did a pink bar. The idea was it would increase anyone who had pink coloured hair, or if you had white or silver hair, it would leave a very slight tinge. That was our one epic fail. It turned everything pink apart from your hair. So there's been challenges. Some of them we've overcome, the majority, but not all of them. So I'd say the toners have been the most interesting for us.
Absolutely. And Mallory, at Fashion Snoops, are you seeing sustainability as a significant influence on hair care product development?
Absolutely. I think in terms of sustainability, we look to all these daily essentials within our bathrooms, and you see the classic big giant plastic packaged shampoo and conditioner as one of those huge opportunities to change consumer habits and change them for the better for sustainability. I think right now within hair care, there's a huge opportunity for this marriage of packaging and formulation. And this is something we've been talking about within sustainability for quite some time. The idea that it's no longer appealing or innovative to eco-minded consumers anymore to simply have sustainable formula or that percentage on the bottle, 97% natural, 98% natural, 100% natural. If it's packaged in plastic, they're going to be a little skeptical of it. Likewise, your product can be packaged in the most sustainable packaging ever, and it completely depleting a rare flower extract that only grows in one part of the world. And consumers are really wise to this. So they're looking to products that have that perfect marriage between packaging and formulation. And in that sense, I think we're really seeing a lot of smarter formulations, concentrated, for example, solid bar form shampoos, which I'm a huge fan of. The idea that we can take these big bottle products, which your average consumer, especially the longer their hair is, they need quite a lot of products. So the idea is, how can we use formulation to concentrate these formulas down? And also, how can we put those better formulas in better packaging? And also, as well, of course, I'd be remiss to not mention biotech and the huge potential for biotechnology to create safe synthetic alternatives to some of these rare actives that we might look to for hair care. So I think, again, it's the idea that in future, all of these have to be baked in from the start in product creation to really gain consumers' trust, both packaging and product design and formulation.
Jennifer, how does sustainability guide Inolex in its formulation of hair care products?
So I'd say 10 or 15 years ago, the market wanted products to be as natural as possible. But now we see an evolution towards products that are inherently biodegradable. And then now we're seeing it evolve even further to understanding how products are going to impact the earth at the end of life for product use. So we're predicting that the next wave of sustainability needs will be measuring the carbon footprint of the formulas and ingredients. We're also starting to see more interest in feedstock transparency and how we can find and ensuring that we have the most ethically and responsibly sourced ingredients. So we're still at the very infant phases of this, but we started a feedstock initiative with our regulatory team. We're even visiting the farms where our ingredients are made. So I recently went to what I'm calling the Fields of Yellow in Kentucky and Tennessee, and we talked to the farmers that are growing the brassica and understanding what some of their concerns are. I'll be going to India next week to meet with the castor farmers and producers. So there's going to be more to come to see how we can help our growers and also help educate our customers and consumers about the value. And as we understand more about our ingredients from the start of life with the feedstock understanding to the end of the life with biodegradability, we're going to have to back this up with safety and performance evaluations.
Okay, Kameese, how do sustainable practices either support or hinder Nylah Naturals?
I'd like to think it constantly pushes us to think outside of the box and definitely supports our product development and also our packaging. So we are looking at using now a material on our packaging that enables the plastic to be biodegradable and therefore more economically sustainable. One of the other things that we're really focusing on in terms of NDT is concentrated formulation. So how can we take some of the products that our core audience are using and reduce things like water or reduce unnecessary ingredients to ensure that the product is really concentrated and more friendly for the environment and more sustainable. Another thing that we rolling out in Q3 of this year is refillable. Again, as a small brand, it's not something that we were able to take advantage of due to cash flow constraints, call it that. But we're now looking at refillable packaging and also reminding them of the importance of being more sustainable for the environment, so practice cycling, etc. So those are some of the things that we're starting to execute and implement smaller brands.
And Emma, how do those sustainable practices support or potentially hinder your brand, the Little Soap Company, in innovating hair care products?
I think we know it's an expensive game being green, but it's something that's been really important to me since day one. We were one of the first tranche back in early 2020 to get B Corp certification, which was really important to us. From day one, we've been sustainable as possible. It was quite easy for us to get that certification. So we aim to be a leading example of what's possible in the industry. And I think it's really important to remember that sustainability isn't just about packaging and the product, it's about absolutely everything. So everything from our team, our suppliers, our retailers, and our customers, they're all a huge part of what makes us sustainable. So we always ensure that we recruit and we work by and sell to those that share the same commitment and are aligned. And I think that's just something really important for all of us to remember. There's so many challenges, aren't there, in terms of cost? We know affordability remains the number one barrier for customers. They think that if they become more sustainable and they live a more sustainable lifestyle, it's going to be too time consuming, or the product isn't going to be as good as a different product that's differently made. So washing is another huge issue of the competitive brands who do the same. They underprice us or sometimes overprice us and say that they're making claims which simply aren't true. I've always believed that the business of a business is to improve the world. And I think we need to be the change that we want to see. And I think in terms of sustainability, that's where we have got a responsibility to do that and to prove it's possible.
So, Mallory, if the business of business is to change the world, what are the challenges and opportunities do evolving regulations present for hair care innovations?
Right now, it's funny because hair is one of those areas, the scalp absorbs a huge amount. And so I think it's quite a vulnerable area, really, and one that should be looked at more closely in terms of regulation. We've seen a lot of chatter right now, especially on TikTok, about hormone interrupting beauty products, the idea of hormone disruptors within your everyday beauty products. I think there are a lot of women who are becoming a little bit more concerned about what products they use and are they hormone interrupters. And so I think hair care will probably fall under this discussion at some very near point in the future. There's also a lot of concern for straightening products that are toxic or can be damaging or burning. And I think also in terms of regulation, an area that we don't talk about so frequently is the idea of targeting younger audiences. Now, this is something that we talked about last year in terms of Sephora teens phenomenon, but that was mainly facial skincare. But we are also seeing a concerning amount of very young consumers on social media getting into hair growth routines at a time in their lives when their hair is never going to grow faster or thicker or stronger. And I think there's quite a concern that they're being influenced by older consumers who need these rituals and these routines and these products more, and they're just emulating the routines. And so I think regulation going forward in the beauty industry, especially speaking to the vulnerability of Gen Alpha, needs to speak to more than just dangerous ingredients and chemicals, which of course is top of mind, but also needs to speak about how do we protect younger consumers and make sure that they're using age-appropriate products when it's within the control of the industry to do so.
And Jennifer, how does Inolex address the impact of changing regulations on its formulations?
So, yeah, we're definitely looking at it more from the ingredient standpoint, and we're continuing to see opportunities on creating more sustainable silicone-free solutions. But we're looking at it more for where are some of the unique benefits, or how can we help simplify routines and meet the needs. But one possible regulatory challenge that we're seeing pop up now is the use of quaternary ingredients in hair care. The good news is, as far as I know, consumers don't see this yet as an issue. However, quats are used in the majority of hair care conditioners, shampoo, hair treatments, and hair styling products. So if it becomes a concern, it's going to have a big impact on hair care brands and the products that are out there. So on the ingredient side, as ingredient developers, we're keeping an eye on this possible concern and developing solutions for it. We see that in the future, this is going to bring challenges and opportunities to hair scientists because we're all going to have to think completely differently about conditioning. And so if consumers start asking questions, the industry is preparing now to support the brands with efficacious and more sustainable alternatives.
And Kameese, how do these evolving regulations affect Nylah Naturals?
I'd like to think it constantly pushes us to think outside of the box, and definitely supports our product development, um, and also our packaging. So we are looking at using now a material on our packaging that enables the plastic to be biodegradable and therefore more economically sustainable. One of the other things that we're really focusing on in terms of NDP is concentrated formulations. So, how can we take some of the products that our core audience is typically using and reduce things like water or reduce unnecessary ingredients to ensure that the product is really concentrated and more friendly for the environment and more sustainable? Another thing that we are rolling out in quarter 3 of this year is refillables. Again, it's as a small brand, it's not something that we were able to take advantage of just due to cash flow constraints, let's call it that. But we're now looking at refillable packaging and also reminding the consumer of the importance of being more sustainable to the environment. So proactively recycling, etc. So those are some of the things that we're starting to execute and implement as a smaller brand.
Emma, what regulatory challenges or opportunities are you navigating at the Little Soap Company?
So one thing just to underline is regulations and certifications are a really big deal for small businesses and they're very costly, but absolutely it's necessary and it's something we'd never go back and not do again. I think it's really important from the off to get as many accreditations, genuine ones, as you can. The consumers are very savvy. They know that drawing your own labels doesn't mean it's necessarily correct. Accreditations, B Corp, I think is really important if you're able to go for that. And in terms of challenges, we only use essential oils in our products. So the 56 new fragrance allergens that have been added to the existing list has been an issue for us because there's quite a few that we use. So that's something we're looking into a lot at the moment and seeing if any tweaks need to happen. It's something I'm not sure was needed. Again, another cost is cosmetic products created for children under 3 need to go through specific safety assessments. Obviously, you've then got dermatological testing and pediatrician approval. That's something that we've not been able to do up until last year when we brought out the child bars, the child shampoo, purely down to cost and testing. But we were really fortunate to win Innovate UK award. There was an Innovating Women award going, and that helped us with all the testing for that. So it is something that holds small businesses back, but I think it is something that you need to do properly. I think that is a real challenge for us, but exactly it's needed to make sure that everybody is genuine. So it's one of those catch 22s. And then obviously you've got the EU packaging and packaging waste regulations that are kicking in and having to do all the artwork changes for that, the new logos, etc. So it's, I don't know, having a business is a constant spinning of plates, isn't it? You're never bored. There's always several things, several plates spinning around you at any one moment. So it's just like the same old, isn't it? It's just different.
And finally, let's wrap up with some inspiring thoughts. Mallory, Which hair care innovations excite you the most and why?
I think the hair care innovations that excite me the most are definitely a lot of the new hair tech that we're seeing, specifically within damage prevention hair tech. I yearn for the day when I can put on a hair dryer at full blast and have it be no negative impact on my hair. And I know many consumers feel that way as well. I also am all for this next generation of multifunctional, super targeted products, nutrient-rich formulations that also have been thought out in advance to not come at the expense of the environment. And looping back to when we were discussing environmental trends, I really am quite passionate about waterless, concentrated, and solid form hair care. To me, I think consumers still have to get to the point where they're going to make that lifestyle switch. But many consumers, specifically younger consumers like millennials and Gen Z, are much more keen to make these routine changes and are embracing smaller format hair care. So I think it is evolving in a very positive way. And I'm really excited for these advanced multifunctional formulations and what is in store this year for hair care.
And Jennifer, what's the one innovation in hair care that you find most exciting and why?
The one that I find most exciting and I want to see more of is actually, we're looking at it, it's a specific product, the Amika Smooth Over Frizz Fighting Treatment. It's multi-benefit, easy to use. It's a unique format, even though it adds a step two on someone's routine. The biggest issue I have with it is that my Gen Z and Gen Alpha daughters keep taking it from me, and it's never in my shower when I need it. And I do have one more because it's just added on with all this talk. Is I love all the talk today about the multifunctional concentrated formulas. And I've had my eye on the Everest brand shampoo and conditioner concentrates. And would love to hear what Kameese and Emma need for these types of formulas. So then I can work with our designers to create some formulas or solutions. I just think it's fascinating, this idea of the concentrates, but I don't know if they actually work or not.
And Kameese, is concentrates the thing that excites you the most?
Concentrates is one of the things that I've definitely got my eye on, but I think the thing that excites me the most is the alternatives to minoxidil, and the alternative plant-based hair growth extracts and ingredients that we're seeing at the moment. Again, because our brand is centered around hair restoration, hair wellness, primarily for Black women. It's really exciting to see that there are ingredients that are proven to have the same efficacy as minoxidil without all of the side effects. And those are some of the things that we're incorporating in our new offerings. That's really exciting. Another one of the trends that we are starting to look at is the inside outside beauty trend, which is again, it's underpinned by wellness, and the personalization approach to wellness. And as a brand, we're looking at how we can utilize AI and utilize personalization so that we can offer our customers a more customized and holistic approach to their hair wellness routines. And so that's something that we're really excited about as a brand.
And Emma, you did some amazing things with your colored soap. So, what innovations are exciting you the most in hair care?
You'd have to shoot me if I tell you, or I'd have to shoot you. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. One thing I will tell you is that the conditioner bars, we have been formulating for years on that. And the reason we haven't brought one out, even though every single retailer would bite our hands off and take it, is we just don't want our customers to lose faith in us. We've got so many positive reviews and quite a loyal tribe. We don't want to bring something out that won't work. There's a lot of other things going on in the background. From a personal point of view, what excites me, I have incredibly long, incredibly thick, very coarse hair. I have tried every single anti-frizz product on the market. So anything that works, I'm excited by. I think right now, Colour Wow is the only thing that tames it for me. But it's interesting. I think the world's moved on.
And with that, I want to thank you so much to Mallory, Jennifer, Kameese, and Emma for joining me today, and to you for listening.